My name is Sue Reckoff, and I'm the president of the Historical Society of University City. We want to thank you for joining us tonight for our 7th State of the City. We hold this event in March or on or close to our city founder, Edward Gardner Lewis's birthday, partly as a way to remember our beginnings in 1906, to remember our beginnings in 1906, while we hear from our city leaders where University City is today and what plans they have for our future. And besides, we always need a reason to have birthday cake. Tonight, we're pleased to welcome our Mayor, Terry Crow, and our City Manager, Gregory Rose. This is the first State of the City appearance for Mayor Crow. It's the second appearance for City Manager Rose. There will be a short time for questions and answers at the end of the program, but let's begin with City Manager Rose.
There are things we rarely think about. Little morning rituals. A light to find our way through the dark. A bike trail just down the road. An easy commute. Having a great place to work. But all across America, there are people thinking about those details every day, crafting plans and making the decisions that transform good communities into great ones. They're our professional city and county managers. They know that characteristics like civic engagement, quality housing, vibrant neighborhoods, and solid infrastructure allow business to thrive. In fact, nearly 2/3 of Moody's AAA bond-rated cities are run by a professional manager. From exciting development projects, to curbside recycling programs, to the water for your shower. City and county managers are responsible for the things that help communities thrive. They make tomorrow happen, partnering with elected officials to turn big policy ideas into great achievements.
When we're done making policy, our city manager is focused on turning that into reality.
They're not trying to take on the role of being politicians, but they're the folks that have to, in the end, implement and deliver.
The ability of the manager to help maintain and manage this city in the best possible way is crucial.
While most of us are busy running our lives, professional managers run the communities where we live our lives. So we can all have a place that we're proud to call home. Professional city, town, and county management. It's life well run.
Good evening. You know, I feel that with our form of government seeming to be up under siege, I think it's important to educate people as to what makes our form of government special, and that the separation between governance and the executive side, it is what is critical, and that no matter whether you are Republican or Democrat or independent, the fact that you pay taxes means that you deserve the same level of service as anyone else. I won't say what they're going to, but I think our region is just fine the way it is. My name is Gregory Rose, and I'm the city manager for University City. I'd like to acknowledge that there are several special guests in the audience, and I know that Mayor Crow will be introducing each of you. I do want to recognize one in particular who has been not just a mentor, but also a friend, and a long-serving city manager here in University City, Frank Ohlendorf. I'd like to take this opportunity also to recognize an individual that was also a long-serving city manager here in University City. Charles Henry served as city manager from 1959 to 1975. He passed in May of 2018. Our thoughts and prayers are still with his soul and with his family. Many of you are familiar with the book titled Good to Great. That was written by Jim Collins and published in 2001. The book gives you Jim's insights on why some companies are able to make the leap from being just good companies to becoming great companies. In his book, he discusses the concept that includes why great companies crawl, walk, and then run, and how you can change the culture of an organization. Tonight, I want to take a few minutes to share with you my thoughts on how I'm partnering with the mayor and council, with the city staff, and with the community in order to change our service delivery from good service to great service. The key is to start with the end in mind. First, you want to make sure that you have the right people on the bus and that they're in the right seats. I started working for the city of University City again in December of 2017 and immediately began the work with the mayor and council and staff to evaluate areas of opportunity to improve our service delivery. We concluded through that process that although all employees desired to do a good job, the structure of the organization did not lend itself to effective service delivery. We all wanted to improve our communication efforts with our residents and other citizens, diversify our local economy, better maintain our infrastructure, ensure that we were paying a competitive wage, better address crime and the fear of crime in our city, and establish values to act as the moral compass for the behavior of all of our employees. In May 2018, after several months of analysis, the mayor and council approved the restructuring of the organization. The restructured organization would enable us to place greater focus on the areas we believe there were opportunities for improvement. As a result of the restructured organization, we have been able to complete a class and compensation study which proved we were not competitive in the marketplace as it relates to salaries for our police officers, for our firefighters, and other non-emergency service personnel. Human Resources Director Yolanda Housey led our efforts and is now focused on making sure that our employees are safe while they are working and that they remain healthy. Also, Yolanda is working with our departments to explore the use of alternative fuel vehicles, as we must provide future generations with a planet that is not declining due to man-made disasters. If you're not on social media, you should be. We're using several social media platforms to better communicate with our residents. You may not have noticed, now we tweet. Thanks to the efforts of Communications Director Allison Bamberger, who is also here working tonight. Not only do we tweet, we stream. Allison will begin within the next few weeks to develop videos to better educate our residents on what's happening at City Hall. These videos will highlight each department, and you will hear from me and the department director on the status of projects from our work plan and what is on the horizon. The videos will be available on our website for viewing. In August of 2018, the Mayor and Council adopted the FY 18 through 20 work plan for University City. The work plan provides me with clear direction on the projects the Mayor and Council desire to be achieved over the next few years. Priorities of economic development, public safety, encouraging high-quality growth, prudent fiscal management, infrastructure, community quality of life amenities, and employees were identified as their priorities. Public safety was noted as a priority for the Mayor and Council. We are making strides to better address crime and the fear of crime in University City. Part 1 crimes, in fact, were down by 11% in 2018. But just because crime is trending downward, we are not yet satisfied. We are exploring the use of technology to aid us in ensuring the trend continues. This means that you may not know our drones are flying overhead, but neither will the bad people. I will continue to ask the Mayor and Council to invest in technology such as drones, cameras, robotics, and software that can detect where shots have been fired. There is little daylight in how Chief Hampton and I see our police department evolving in the use of technology and community policing. Our goal is to ensure our officers are well trained and well equipped, minimize them from being in harm's way, better engage our residents in our efforts to make you feel safe and be safe in your homes, your neighborhoods, and your parks, and to improve our infrastructure to reflect crime prevention through environmental design concepts. We can have an excellent police department, but if the cases that are created are not managed right, criminals will go free. City Attorney John Mulligan, Judge Seidel, and Court Administrator Kathy Matthews will ensure that nothing falls through the cracks and that everyone charged with a crime has their right to unbiased treatment when they go through our judicial process. Public Works Director Sinan Appleson is leading an effort to improve the lighting in our city. Over the next 5 years, the Mayor and Council has allocated more than $1 million being allocated to enhancing street lighting. This is needed so that we can discourage crime and reduce the amount of accidents occurring due to poor lighting. In addition to improving our lighting, Sinan is leading our efforts to improve service delivery and snow removal, leaf collection, and stormwater management. I want to take this opportunity to recognize Sinan and his staff for the outstanding job that they have done with snow removal thus far this year. Thank you. Only a few weeks ago, Economic Development Director Libby Tucker and Planning and Development Director Clifford Cross started working for University City. Clifford will oversee our efforts to reignite our comprehensive plan update process. The initial attempt at updating the comprehensive plan did not yield the results that were being sought. We intend to take a different approach this time, one that starts with asking the residents, what do you want University City to look like in 25 years? We will seek to create a clear vision for University City. And then we will follow up with updating the policies that are necessary to achieve that vision. Economic development was identified as a priority also for the Mayor and Council. In order for us to be a city that is sustainable, we must diversify our local economy. Most of you know that as we speak, the city of Chesterfield is challenging if they can leave the pool of pool cities. If successful, other cities that believe themselves to be sustainable as well will follow their lead. This means that we must prepare to stand on our own if at some point we will not be able to share in the pool sales taxes. Libby Tucker, our new Economic Development Director, will lead our efforts to move us towards a sustainable city. Over time, you will see a greater diversity of businesses in University City and an increased focus on improving areas such as Cunningham Industrial Park, Olive Boulevard, and the Loop. Included on the March 25th, 2019 Council agenda will be an item that enables our auditors to present their findings of our execution of the FY 2018 annual operating budget. Acting Finance Director Keith Cole led our efforts to work with the auditors to collect information required for them to do a thorough audit review. I don't want to give anything away, but I think that the Mayor and Council will be pleased with the results. Keith has done an outstanding job for us. Our fire department continues to be stellar. In October 2018, William Henson was appointed to the fire chief position after distinguishing himself as the interim fire chief. For some reason, I think you're going to hear more about our fire department later. We are crawling as an organization, but I believe that we are poised to start taking a few baby steps in this calendar year. We know what we need to achieve, and we are all committed to improving the services that we provide to you. You can count on your elected leaders and staff to provide those services in a manner that focuses on integrity, customer service and collaboration, accountable, respect, and empowerment. I Care will be that moral compass for how we deliver services. Many of you are aware that I grew up in rural East Texas on a small farm until we all migrated to the city of Dallas. Texas has had its share of presidents, but one that has had a profound impact on me. Lyndon Baines Johnson, in 1964, during a commencement speech delivered to the University of Michigan, his vision of a great society. He believed that in our lifetime, we could be a society not just for the rich and for the powerful, but upward towards a great society. And that society would demand an end to poverty and racial injustice. That idea continues to motivate me today. For those of you who say, no, not in our lifetime, we can never achieve those things, I say, yes, we can. However, before you can have a great society, you must have great cities. And before you can have a great city, you must have outstanding leadership. Terry Crow was a member of the City Council representing the First Ward for 10 years before becoming elected mayor in 2018. He is a partner in the law firm of Crow Tekas and formerly the CEO of Edward Jones Trust Company. He had earned a law degree from the University of Missouri in Columbia, and as many of you know, he is a native Missourian. I am blessed to be able to introduce to you tonight the leader of our leaders, our Mayor, Terry Crow.
So am I right? Is this 125 years? Is that the number for University City, I think, this year for the founding of the city? Go back. Well, there was something about 125 years. I can't remember what but Sue knows better than anybody in the room. So whatever year we're going by, we're just going to go with whatever year she picks. I'm very pleased. This is my first time to make this presentation. Actually, I have to follow your footsteps from the last time when we talked about the light up on top. You know, Gregory always makes very kind remarks about me, but I know I speak for all of my colleagues that we are so fortunate to have such a consummate professional as the leader of our city. Day in, day out, he and I have worked together now for the past year, and we have been in some interesting situations. And he has always been that calming influence. It's the knowledge of the subject matter, and it's how simply to say, I understand, I'm listening, I hear you, we may not agree, but we're going to take that into consideration. And it has truly been a joy this past year to have you to be able to work with and to have you leading our city as well. So thank you for coming back home. Thank you. Before I introduce my colleagues that are here tonight, I also want to take just a brief moment and say that our city clerk, Laurette Reese, seems to do everything possible for any event that is happening in City Hall. She is a notary beyond compare, because each time when I'm in the office, there is always someone wanting something notarized. She is polite, She is knowledgeable. She is apolitical. And Laurette, thank you so much for what you do to make University City a better place. Thank you. Thank you. You know, if I keep complimenting everybody, you guys will just keep applauding. It'll make me feel really good as I go through the presentation. I think this may be the first time, I'm not certain, but we have the entire City Council here tonight. We have Wayne Smotherson and Stacy Clay from the 3rd Ward. We have Paulette Carr and Tim Cusick from the 2nd Ward, and Steve McMahon and Jeff Hales from the 1st Ward. So if Tom Sullivan were here, I would say, yes, we have a quorum. Yes, we have a quorum, and we got, everybody's here. So it is very nice to be able to work with all of my colleagues. And we had a conversation before the meeting started about client and citizen comments and emails. And, really, I thought when I became mayor, I would get all of these emails and communications. And I really don't. Really, most of the time, they're coming to the council members. And the council members are replying back before I ever have to step in and say, do I need to reply to this? And so, again, to my colleagues, it is truly an honor and a pleasure to work with each and every one of you. I hope that to the citizens of University City, we are keeping our pledge. And one of the pledges I want to briefly speak about is during the last election cycle, one of my #1 goals was for the inner workings of the City Council not to be in the press. And I will stand up here and say, I think we've been pretty successful. We have not been in the paper at all for anything as far as an inner working between council members, any of us whatsoever, for the past year. Now, I may have jinxed us, but so far, so good. Now, I want to talk about some things. Gregory and I sort of divided this up between some of the projects that we're working on and the new staff that we have, and I think Gregory's putting together a phenomenal staff. But I want to spend a little bit of time on, we've been out of the news, but there's one thing that we've been in the news a lot over, and that is Olive in 170. And Olive in 170, no matter how you slice it, is a big deal. It is one of the biggest single developments in St. Louis County. It's one of the largest TIFs. It's one of the most discussed TIFs ever. Our public hearings went on for months, and Olivette's went on for 2 weeks. So there's a big difference in those two. One of the things I want to say about it is that this council has always said 3 things. As it stands right now, we support the Olive in 170 project. We support it because we think it's good for our community, and we believe it is incredibly important for our community to help shore up the housing in the 3rd Ward, because that is the one part of our city that has not been able to fully recover from the last economic downturn. That is why a large portion of the Olive in 170 deal has been triggered on, will there be money to help secure housing, resurgence, if you will, in the 3rd Ward. And the third thing I've always said, and that is this: if we do not believe that the Olive in 170 project is good for our community, then we will not vote for it. It's pure and simple. If we think it is good, likely we will vote for it. If we don't think it's good, we will not. We recognize fully that most recently, our consultant, PGAV, made a rather egregious error. Many people have said you need to have a new TIF hearing. That's not true. The numerical error made by the consultant does not in any way impact the TIF or the vote that was taken, but it clearly impacts the negotiations between the developer and the city. And that's where we find ourselves right now. We are in the process of negotiating with the developer, because one of the emails that we got today was a very appropriate one from one of the homeowners that lives in that neighborhood. Where are we on this? Do we have to go back into? We don't need to go back into a TIF hearing. It is now a matter of course between the council and particularly the city manager and city attorney and the developer to negotiate an agreement, present it to the city council, and then we say yay or we say nay. But I do want to make sure everyone understands, we take this responsibility for that project very seriously, very seriously. And I'm sure some of you may have questions later on about that, and that is perfectly fine. I want to take just a moment and talk about now 170 in Delmar. 170 Del Mar doesn't really get much press these days, and that's perfectly fine, but 170 in Del Mar is probably poised for quite an explosion. And it's poised mostly because of the exorbitant growth that is going on in Clayton to the south. That movement, it just keeps coming that way. When the Walgreens moved out, everyone thought that center would go down, and in fact that center, if it's not 100% fully occupied, it is awfully close. The Gatesworth Caddy Corner across the street is going to do another expansion and likely move north up to Del Mar. You've got the building across the street that is where I always call it where Flacco's, was it Flacco's Tacos? Is that what it was called? I can't remember the name of the restaurant. We'll see what happens on that corner. And then you've got the apartment complex that is on both sides of 170. The one on the east side has already been redone. The one on the west side, I think the owners are determining what they're going to do next with that very large piece of property. So you're going to see Del Mar and 170 also probably start bubbling up a little bit more, if you will, on its own. I also know that we regularly make it in the press for the trolley. The trolley, we have 4 blocks of the trolley, and the city of St. Louis has 2 miles of it. Yet most of the time, all of the conversations are about the Del Mar Loop and the trolley. And Terry, what are you doing about that trolley? So, what I'm going to say is what I've continued to say. We feel horrible for the businesses that did not make it through the construction process. The delays, that was absolutely horrible. We hope for the success of the trolley. I want everybody to please get out and ride it, and particularly to members of the Historical Society. I think it's important for us the 3rd car just arrived. It's actually an original car that was from Australia. And the odd thing, and I really don't make excuses for the trolley company at all, but the odd thing that I had no idea about is that the loop trolley that is, 2.5 miles long is governed by the exact same rules as the New York subway system and the Washington, D.C. metro system. So those tracks have the same rules, those cars have the same rules, so when the car gets here, it has to go through a great deal of work. But anyway, car number 3 is here, it is getting checked out, and hopefully it will start soon. To all of us, for our businesses' sake that are there, we need this to work through. We all have our questions. I still do too. But our trolley is here, and we need to see it work through. Now let's talk a little bit more about WashU. We now have a new celebrity in Jeff Hales, who's been on Channel 5 recently. We had a little excitement with WashU this past weekend with some Mardi Gras activity, and to my old neighbors in Ames Place, I think that is same song, different verse for you because it's been going on for years. I think we all recognize that WashU is integral to our community, and for a long time we have had what I'll call a partnership. I think, as I have said very openly to WashU leadership, that it is not necessarily an equal partnership, and we would like to make it a little bit more of an equal or equitable partnership. And for those of you who don't know, we had a little excitement with 700 WashU students at the corner of Kingsbury and Kingsland on Saturday morning. And it surprises me immensely that on a Mardi Gras Saturday in the city that has the 2nd largest Mardi Gras parade in the country, that no one was prepared from the WashU campus as to what may occur. I will truly tip my hat to the University City Police Department, who had the entire on-duty police force there, dispersed the crowd very peacefully, and got things moving. But there is no reason for that to occur when, in fact, the homeowners who pay the taxes were the ones that were inconvenienced, and the students were wondering why our police were doing that to them in what they call the North 40. That tells me at times we've really got this relationship out of whack. It also bothers me when, in fact, our police officers are there, and really for that service, WashU pays basically nothing, yet when the fire department from Clayton comes for a building to WashU, they have a reimbursement agreement with Clayton for their fire department. So at some point in time, we've really got to get our arms around this relationship as we move forward. It's really, it is wonderful to have a neighbor. This is kind of like having a shared driveway, right? I mean, really, this is, and who really wants a shared driveway? But we've got one, and we need to work with our neighbor here and get this relationship a little bit back in whack. I saw Patrick in the back. I want to very quickly say you do realize that on the April ballot, we have a ballot measure for the library. Is it Prop L? Is that what it's called? Prop L. And I don't know, but I think most people in University City take great pride in our library. And I would make one little plug here that if you would like to have a yard sign or something, I know that Patrick and his crew would love to have a little bit more support as they move forward with that initiative. I also want to speak briefly about Gateway. The outsourcing of our ambulance service, as many of you will recall, was something I was viciously opposed to, but was unsuccessful in that. And I think many people will remember the night we had this room probably filled to the largest it's ever been. We can now say to you that we are fast approaching having our own ambulance service back. I think. I think like many things, one of the things I'm proudest of right now is that this city council and city administration is kind of boring. We are very methodical. And I will say Gregory Rose and the fire chief, everybody involved has simply done one thing after one thing after one thing to move this forward. I also want to put a shout out to Congressman Clay, who helped us get a grant to be able to hire and train the EMTs and firefighters that will be coming back with us. And we hope to have the ambulances back sometime in either the third or the fourth quarter of this year. So we then, as you know, I think many of you realize that, and I'll speak just for myself, I was sickened when we lost mutual aid. And mutual aid was us helping our neighbors and our neighbors helping us. Whether it was Leduc, Clayton, Richmond Heights, Olivet, it didn't matter. Everybody was helping everybody out. And we're the ones who messed that one up. And we are coming back, and I think it is great for all of us. And hopefully that chapter will end soon. And I look forward to having our ambulances back and with folks who have the right directions to all of the right houses. I want to spend just a moment on Better Together, because I think Gregory sort of teed that up, and I think it's important for us to have a little bit of a conversation, because I think so many of the things the council is working on are impacted by that decision. The first thing that I want to say to all of you is you owe it to yourselves to read that amendment. I'm not worried about whether you read the supporting documentation at all, but you need to read the amendment, because you really can't have a substantive conversation, pro or con, unless you've taken the time to probably read the longest constitutional amendment in the history of the state of Missouri. I will say that it frustrates me that the supporters of Better Together have come forth with the presumption that we have to have a statewide constitutional vote to amend the Constitution. That is, in my country slang, that is bootstrapping, because it would have been very simple if you wanted to do this the right way. And clearly money has been no object with this group. You would have said, we need to amend the Constitution to let the city of St. Louis and the county of St. Louis vote on this merger. That would have been the amendment to put forth. And then the city and the county would vote on it. There is no way that people in Neosho, Nevada, Kirksville, Poplar Bluff, and Farber, Missouri should be making this vote. None whatsoever. And even though I think we all know that I've had my political challenges with Representative Chappelle Nadal, you got to give her credit when she introduces a bill in the state legislature to merge two rural counties because their populations are so small. I mean, think about it. We are being asked to merge 1.5 million people together. And a large part of this vote is going to come from outstate Missouri that is going to be easily swayed by a $25 million ad campaign. And I just do not think that that is right. If you think about it, the senator from Columbia who was in a hearing a couple of weeks ago said it best. If the Congress passed a bill to merge Illinois and Missouri and said, oh, by the way, Illinois and Missouri people, you can vote on this, but so are the other 48 states. I mean, that's really what we're doing here. And I am not someone who is opposed to a merger over time. Just so you know, I am not. This is just not the right one. This does not, in my mind, make sense. University City was one of the charter members of the Municipal League. We have always believed in regionalism. We are, for the most part, pretty liberal, pretty progressive, pretty open-minded. And I think if the right proposition were put forth, I think we would be very supportive of it. But one thing that Gregory barely touched upon, but I think we've got to delve much deeper into, and that is that not only in University City, but pick the largest municipalities in St. Louis County. Almost every one of them has a council, city manager form of government. It is nonpartisan, and we are fortunate to be led by professionals as city managers who got a degree in that field and are doing the work that needs to get done. We are being asked to trade in nonpartisan professional management for 33 fiefdoms that are based upon the aldermanic system that is currently in St. Louis City. It's simply, we are being asked to go from nonpartisan professional to purely political. And I don't think that works. I also think we have to ask ourselves, are people like Gregory Rose going to want to be in positions where the vast majority of their authority have been transferred someplace else? If you think about it, when we move our police and our public works into what we'll call metropolis, and we move the commensurate sales tax revenue that goes with them, our most recent note that we turned in to the state auditor says that we will go from having a balanced budget in University City to having a $4.8 million deficit every single year. And folks, that's on our shoulders. That is ours. And then over time, the earnings tax in the city is to go away. I don't understand how you get rid of one of, if not the largest single revenue source for the city of St. Louis, if it goes away, and you have to take care of the bond debt that the city of St. Louis has, and yet they say we're not going to be asked to pick up the tab. Now, this may sound a bit conservative to some of you in the room, but I really did grow up at Edward Jones. And there is a market solution here, and it may not be what everybody wants. But when the city of St. Louis sold their portfolio of bonds, they have sold them at a higher interest rate because of the quality of the credit. So that investor has taken a higher interest rate because of a higher risk. That person or institution that bought those bonds took that risk. If we come in and merge the city and the county together, we are all going to be subsidizing the payments to an investor group that already took that risk. And the solution clearly is for the market to take its course. And when the market takes its course, that means the city should default on its bonds, and it should negotiate with a committee that would easily be formed, and then you would determine how much each bondholder gets. That's when you merge the city and the county together. Otherwise, we are paying at least twice, because we're paying for the deficit we're going to have here in University City, and we're going to be paying for an awful lot in the city of St. Louis. The other thing which Gregory didn't talk about is, we have a police station we're supposed to build. But you do realize in our Better Together that we're supposed to transfer that police station to Metropolis as soon as the merger happens. So it's kind of hard for me to ask all of you for a bond issue to build a new police station, but in fact, we're then going to transfer the police station to Metropolis. So in our particular community, we've got a police department that is in temporary housing, pretty good temporary housing, but temporary housing, and we have to make a decision to build a police station or not. Yet, if this goes through, our police station is no longer ours. The other thing I want to talk just briefly about is I'm really not sure in this case bigger is better. You know, I realize everybody doesn't talk to their police officers all the time. I realize everybody doesn't talk to their firefighters all the time. But I think you've got to stop and ask yourself, does it really make sense for our police department to be merged into the City of St. Louis's police department when they have 12 officers under investigation for everything from bribery and embezzlement to murder? This does not strike me as sound policy for us. Bigger is not better in that case. I do want to say, though, that not all is bad in this report. Not all. The most important thing is it has forced us all to have an uncomfortable conversation. It truly has. Do I think the health department should be merged? Absolutely. They should have been merged a long time ago. Do I think that the municipal court system needs to be streamlined and have one municipal court system for St. Louis City and St. Louis County? Absolutely. And I think that can be done pretty easily. But we've also got to come back to what's been left out. And I don't know about you guys, but I grew up pretty poor in the country. And I was told that the great equalizer is education. And in University City, we still take great pride in our education. And this proposal leaves the greatest equalizer to all of our kids off the table. And that is not right. So at some point in time, we've got to address what has occurred. So again, in concluding on Better Together, please read the report. Ask questions. And I think many of you may know that my colleagues Paulette Carr and Tim Cusack are gathering signatures for what is called the freeholders option. It's a rather it's not really complicated, but everybody thinks it's complicated. But it really is one of the options where we actually get the local vote on whether or not you merge the city and the county together. And I would urge anyone who has not taken the time to sign the petitions to please reach out to Paulette or to Tim, who are here, so that you can at least let your voice be known. I am sure that I have probably skipped past a couple of things that are important to those of you in the room. And I want to conclude by saying I am honored to serve as your mayor, and I am so pleased to be invited to speak to you tonight. And I'd ask now for Gregory to come forward. And I don't know if folks have questions, but we really would like to entertain questions if people have them of either of us. Yes, David. She wants to.
Anything happening with the high-speed internet that was talked about to go in with the trolley track?
Well, I may not be the best person to talk about this, but I'm sorry. What about the high-speed internet that was supposed to go in with the trolley? I don't think that dog ever hunted. I don't think it ever happened. You ask a good question, you get a good answer. You may not like it, but there you go. Anything else? Mark.
I can understand how the planning for the future of the police station might be affected now by the Better Together conversation. We, particularly in University Heights, have been eager to get some sort of sense of what the timing might be. Our understanding is that you have had a study underway. Do you have a sense now of when that report might come out on that study?
We are less than 90 days away from having the analysis of the existing facilities completed. It is very likely that I will be asking the mayor and council to place the project on hold at that point, pending what happens with Better Together. But understand that we have already expended funds for the construction of that facility, starting first with the analysis, and then we go on to the engineering and then the construction. So as far as the land acquisition that was necessary if we desire to have a place where we can expand the facilities downtown here. So again, I would suspect we'll complete it in about 90 days, and then I'll be asking the mayor and council to place the project on hold.
Oh, yes, Byron.
Two quick questions. One, on Better Together, does a municipal league plan to file some kind of suit, or is it just going to happen? And then the second part on the sales tax, if we don't do any development, how would that affect if we're not a point of sale city anymore?
The first is that the municipal league is actually determining whether or not they're going to file suit, but I think there are actually a number of what I would say connected parties who are probably looking at whether or not they're going to file suit that on the Better Together. By the way, I think, let's face it, when an amendment is written that long, I think everybody expects there to be a lawsuit at some point in time before it ever hits the stage. On the sales tax, I'm just a little bit confused as far as, are you saying if the development doesn't go forward, or this is not about Olive and 170, it's just about the sales tax? Oh. Yeah, okay. This is about just point of sale versus pool tax. Well, we're pooled, and so the issue is going to be if, in fact, Chesterfield were successful and everybody becomes point of sale, we would be hit significantly. We are, off the top of my head, we receive from the pool 4.9 million, and we put in 2.6. So we would take a hit. We would take a significant budgetary hit if we were not allowed to be a part of the pool, or the pool goes away. So thank you for that question, though. Yes, sir.
Is there outside money coming in on this
Well, you're probably asking the wrong guy. They haven't shared a lot of plans with me on that. But I mean, I think the issue is there outside money on Better Together. I think the only thing that has been thus far, I think pretty publicly known, is that one particular individual is willing to put in $25 million, and then I think it's relatively clear that a number of the members of Civic Progress are wanting this to go forward, and so those contributions will probably come forth as well. Yeah, I think I hate to say this, but I think even though I think every single municipality has already taken a resolution that says no, but I think we're kind of clearly the David versus Goliath here, because none of us can come up with $25 million too easily. So I think that clearly is I think it worries everybody. I think it really does. I think if you think about an ad campaign of that magnitude in outstate Missouri, that's a pretty sizable ad campaign, because the airwaves are pretty cheap in outstate Missouri, so. That's an interesting statement made by the county executive. Yes. Anything? Oh, yes, sir.
with Better Together, what sort of path could be taken in order to have a better version of a togetherness plan to include education,
yep,
and to include the things that are seemingly pretty good about it?
Yeah, great question. I think first I think just as a matter of course, this one has to mature and go through adulthood, if you will. This one's got to go through and take the vote, if you will, and either succeed or fail. I think if it fails, I think it has forced a very good conversation. But again, the only thing I would say that, and maybe I'm the conservative one in the room here, is I really don't want to merge until I know what's happening to the city's debt. I mean, I just, to me, that's one where everybody's digging their own hole on this one, and that's a lot of debt out there. But I do think any merger needs to include education, and I think that's going to make any vote, though, by the way, much harder. I think it's clearly going to make any vote much, much harder, much more of a challenge. But I still applaud the fact that we're having this conversation. You know, I was at a charity dinner Saturday night of last week, and I was at a table that was pretty well evenly split. Now, no, I was the only one who'd read the whole thing, and that automatically makes everybody pause. That's why I say everybody really, you owe it to yourself to read it, because you really can then verbalize a little bit more about the concerns that you have. Because, you know, let's face it, even the phrase itself, it sounds so good. I mean, better together, I mean, it sounds really good. But you've really got to peel that onion back. I mean, sincerely, I know I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but why would we move from nonpartisan professional management to a fiefdom-based political system that mirrors the Board of Aldermen in the city of St. Louis? You know, each of the 33 districts will have between 30 and 40,000 people. If you really think that University City gets its own seat, we're not. We're going to be sliced and diced, just like we have been in the Missouri House seats. I mean, really, this isn't going to be one where University City has its own seat. It's just not going to work that way. But again, we have benefited, and pick your other municipalities around you, particularly the ones that are of decent size that have professional management. We're really going to see that go away. And I think that's hard. Do I believe that municipalities should merge in St. Louis County? I'll step out on a limb. Sure we should. Absolutely. Should we share services? Yes, we should. Should we do more with each other? Yes, we should. Should we look for opportunities to do things more together? Absolutely. Yes, we should. Yes, we should. But I'm not sure that you really want to jump into the city of St. Louis and the county all coming in all together at once with 33 seats. That's a hard pill to swallow. Sue, we're turning it back over to you? Thank you very much for having us this evening. Thank you. Thank you.
We want to thank Mayor Crow and City Manager Rose for being with us tonight, and I want to thank all of you for coming. Tonight we're celebrating Mr. Lewis's, our first mayor's, 150th birthday. I asked Judy if we could put 150 candles on the cake, and she told me no, we'd probably set off the smoke alarms. But join us for refreshments, and I promise not to make anybody sing.